Hello, Steve. Hi, Steve Arts89. Well, I just saw the Scream 7 trailer. I had no idea it was being released. I heard someone mention it, and then it came up on my feed. I'm like, oh, okay. And it was really good. Why was it really good? Because it was actually about something. You actually have Sydney's character being haunted by another, stalked by another ghost face. And this time, her daughter is now, well, she's old enough to be game. She's a teenager now. So I've lived with this character enough to see her become a mother and have children that are now old enough to be in their own horror movie being stalked. It's slightly surreal, but that's the good thing about Scream. You get attached to the people. It was always the people were the ongoing, and the monster, the killer that changed every film, as opposed to the other films where, like Freddy and Jason, where it was like the killer that was the same, and every movie you'd get a new bunch of people. And sometimes I watch the Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween films, and I like revisiting those characters. I'm like, I wish we'd seen more of them. I don't just like the movies because of the villain and the killer. So it was always nice to have this one sort of different franchise. But then they kind of turned their back on that a bit, and they let Sydney go because they didn't want to pay her what she was worth, because she was the series. So she stood up for herself, very proud of her, did that. They tried to do the film with a bunch of kids, and the film itself was okay, but I didn't really care. I mean, who are these people? They've been around for I've known Sydney since 1996, 1997. Why do I care about these bitches? They've been around for 5 years. They're barely even stars. Well, they got rid of them, and they brought Sydney back. And now she's got a daughter, and her daughter's in jeopardy, and I was terrified for her. Sydney's daughter is being stalked. Oh my God. And that worked. I'm like, they've got something to work with. It's not just make up but that's what didn't work about the other franchises. A lot of the time you just get a bunch of new meat for the film, and then the murderer kills them, and the next film there's a new bunch of meat. So that doesn't really work. I mean, it does in its own slasher way, but not for a Scream film. So they tried to basically turn Scream into a regular slasher series because they didn't want to pay Neve Campbell for being there, basically, and being the star. But they came to their senses eventually, and it looks good. There's a couple of scenarios, of course. There's she's got a panic room in her house because she's not an idiot, but there's also an escape route through the walls. But of course, Ghostface is trying to stab them through the walls, and you see the old house is being turned into a bed and breakfast style sort of horror, thing. But then they burn it down at the end. I'm like, no, you can't burn down the original house. The fact it's still there and they're reusing it that way, that should have been kept legacy. So I didn't like that. But aside from that, the suggestion is they need to make Ghostface an ongoing villain as well. That he needs to have some history other than just his legacy. And I'm like, no. Then why is it whenever Hollywood has something unique, they try and change it into everything else? They're trying to make Scream into a regular slasher series with an ongoing killer and new stars. You keep the main guys and then you have the new people as well. You got the best of both worlds. But I can see that they sort of, there's a push to try and make it like a regular slasher series, and I'm like, you're missing the point, you fools. So yes, overall the trailer looked good. I'm glad the direction the series is going in now, and but I also sort of see these sort of indications that the people in charge, the studio or the producers, don't necessarily know what works or knows what is best for the series. So I'm a bit worried about its long term, because I mean, how long? But I mean, you sort of ask sort of how long can Sidney Prescott be in the film? Well, she doesn't die. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, how old was she when she did the last lot of films? Now they screwed them up, but the fact that she came back and was still around and was able to take on a killer in her 50s wasn't an issue. The story was the issue, not so much the actress. So Neve, who's like 20 years younger, could be doing this. Because, I think she's like 20 years younger than Jamie Lee. So she could be doing this for another 20 years, no problem. And then her daughter, if she stays in the film series and is established, she could take over and, or be part of it as well. So there are ways to make this work long term, but you've got to plan it and you've got to be smart about it. And I can see them being dumb and just want to do the easy thing, which is just get a bunch of new people, a bunch of new little stars that the little Twinkie kids might go and see, and just sort of forget about the actual legacy earned sort of elements. But I just found it really scary. I was actually scared for the character. I understood the dynamics. I understood the jeopardy, and it wasn't just new meat, new young flashy meat. So which is often from what you just get with these horror movies and slasher movies. So I'm just happy to see how it's going, and I'm glad that they went back to it. And they've gone back to basics. It's not... The other films were sort of in the city, and I felt like they were a bit too big and a bit too... They had to keep isolating people, and I'm like, well, that's... just they just weren't... They just were going in different directions, and I'm like, this is not working for Scream. And I feel like they've found the direction again, and they just need to keep it. And if they're smart, they will. But the problem is producers, showrunners, writers... They come and go depending on the studios and who's in power and who's got the money, and the artists often, don't get to maintain things like that. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure we can at least get another couple of films out of Scream that'll be good. But can it be maintained? I wonder. But I'm gonna go.